Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I'm here with a bonus video. So, I've wanted to do a bit of a flip through of my autumn journal. Now, I had no plans on making an autumn journal this year, but I was watching Gail Augustinelli making, I think it's either 3 or 4 autumn journals, and I thought, you know what, I love autumn, why don't I take a bit of a time out and actually make one? So, I made a cover, and I made it out of envelopes, and then I put tissue paper, and I scrap busted and used some of my scraps on it as well. You'll see the inside in a moment. And then I basically just put an insert in and thought, oh, that's it. And then I shared a video. Now, if you didn't see the video, I'm going to try and insert the video next. It's only 29 seconds long and there is no volume on it, so don't go, oh, the video's gone dead. There isn't any video volume. And once that's done, we'll come back to this one and I can flip through and show you how I developed it with little bits of ephemera as I went along. But as I said, I had no real plan. I just went with the muse. So, okay, so enjoy the other video, guys, and I'll see you in 29 seconds. So 29 seconds have passed. Hope you like that. That was the one I shared on Facebook. So let's have a little bit of flip through. I can talk you through some of the elements I did and hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as I did. So I've actually just tied it up with a bit of sari silk and I've just wrapped it round. I was debating on using something like Hessian or burlap or something, and I went, no, I actually just like the colour of this. It was just neutral enough for me to use. So on the cover, I'll try and bring it in, hopefully it'll focus. This is just a napkin. That was a label that I made. There is a video on how I did it. If I look up something like label masterboard, I think I named that video. And as you can see, it was like this, and I just put that over the top, and then when the whole thing was done, I Mod Podged over the top, and I put some metal corners on because, as I said, this cover was made out of a couple of envelopes, so I thought, why did it be a little more rigid? Inside, right, we'll go from front to back. So I lined the inside with some craft cardstock, purely just to make the envelope cover a little bit more rigid. That's another one of the labels I used. I just made a pocket out of a bit of scrap, and that scrap was from my jelly printing. In here, what I did is I found there was a poem for autumn in the Edith Holden book, and I thought, how perfect, because it's an autumn journal. Let's slip that back in there. So I thought that's a nice thing to do. Now, there is a video out of how I make these embossed stamps, so you'll find that on my channel as well. If you look under what do you do with book pages or something like that, it's under there. And I just stamped free your imagination because I had no plan for this journal. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do, and I went, right, Ceri, that's your keynote. Free your imagination, do whatever you want in here. I love this rubber stamp. I think it's by a company called Visual Images, can't remember. It's the same one that has a skull on it, and I absolutely love this. And when I did it in black glitter embossing powder, I loved it. And just some roses, because for me, the whole fall season sort of surrounds trick-or-treat, Halloween, Thanksgiving, all of that, which is one, let's do a bit of a darker theme. So that was the first page, and it's a mixture of coffee papers in here, as you've seen by the previous video clip. Just little bits I popped in here and there, just bits of scraps out of the scrap box, a little bit of stenciling. I think that's a designer stencil, and it's just part of it. It's a huge stencil, it's just part of it. Then this was just napkin onto some card, and I used my postal or my what are they called, postage stamp scissors just to cut those out. Obviously little Tim Holtz. A bit of washi there. So basically, he just looked as if he had a bit of an attitude to him. And I went, you know what? He's not happy it's full. And I wanted to keep the colours to match him. So that was why I chose that piece there. I did have this big book, well, it's big book, it's that size of mushroom and fungi labels, washi labels. So I've just stuck one of those on, and that's a Tracy Fox label. She's got some great digital downloads of her labels, great label sets, and I use them all the time. Bit of music paper, and I stuck it over a bit of a typewritten page, bit of text in there from a book, just so you've got somewhere to write. This journal does have quite a nice lot of journaling space in it, which is why I created it this way. As you can see, lots of journaling space. So came over here and popped on a pocket. This is one of the pockets I made in one of my previous videos. That's a Tracy label. I think that's from her Decorated Matchbox series, and that's one of her labels as well. And in here, Gail Augustinelli has, I'm not going to remember what this is. They're like vintage recipe sheets, and there's 5 pages of this, I think, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I printed this onto coffee dye paper, not just white paper, but even if you print it onto white paper, it's still cream in colour. I just wanted the darker look. There's another one of those labels. I just stuck it and made an entire tag, and how fast was that? Just put some fibres at the top to finish it off, but it was very much in theme. And then this is just a little tag I actually had in my box, and it had mushrooms on it, and I went, okay, so the whole thing is sort of fungi, mushroom, whatever. This was a metal die that I had, and it's a rectangular die, and it's got trees in it, so I just brushed some archival, I think that's sepia I did through there. Again, a little bit of journaling space. Here, just some book page, and this was actually a napkin, then I stamped over the top, and I made some fabric washi to put across the bottom, so that's that one. Over here, we've come into, there's another one of Tracy. You can see I like Tracy's labels. So in here, what I did was I made a bit of a masterboard, I'll show you in a moment, of some inks and stickers and stamps, and I made just a little note paper that goes in there. Another one of my previous tags, and I stuck a sticker on there to make that more a theme. And then I did have this is a Mackie Stamps beetle stamp, so I stamped it and painted it in, and I just like that because it's sort of, this whole journal is very like earthy and insects and dark for me. So there you go, so we've got that. Just some of my own coffee dye papers in here. This little girl made me laugh. I was going to put butterfly wings onto her, and then I came across this bat, and I went, you know what, you're going to be a bat. So I made her into a bat. So I apologise, whoever this little girl is, was, or will be, I apologise, but you become a bat. Obviously some mushrooms in, more labels. That's another Tracy one, I believe. This is actually an apothecary stamp from Mackie Stamps, so that's a little flip. As you can see, I put one of my book page strips or book edge strips, which are just me recycling old book pages, and I just stitched over the top. Again, there is a video of that on my channel if you want to hunt for it. So over here, bit of a belly band, just little bits of fabric on there. In the back of this, I actually put another bit of paper. Now, for those of you who have been watching me, you will note that is actually, I'll reach for the original in a second, is actually that. And what this was this is a sheet that I made up of a masterboard. I then photocopied this, hence I've got copies of it, and then I stamped over the top, and this is how I made my labels. So, but I keep all my masterboards because you know what? I've used it here. I could actually photocopy it and use it that way in a signature, which is why I always like to keep the originals. So that's that one. And then I've just got just a generic tag, just that's of the right colour palette for me, and that goes in there. More journaling space, just a little bit more of Gail Augustinelli's script digital there. A bit more stenciling work there. This was just an old book page which I stamped a rubber stamp onto in green, went around it with vintage photo and just stuck it to this page just as another bit of interest. Over here I put in a fabric flip which covers that nice grunginess there, which you can still journal on, journal your secrets on there, and I just put some random pieces of fabric together, bit of vintage type across the top lace. Number 13, because I thought, you know what, I don't know, 13 just has some wicked connotations. Let's put that in there with the skull, and then I put another little pocket in. This pocket here is actually Some of my jelly printing, that's one of the labels that I make out of old book pages and embossing powders. Again, another one of those tags, and this was one of the postcards I made in one of my mass makes. So, and it just had those down there in the word October, and I thought how perfect for this journal. So slip that in there, or I would if I can get it in there. There you go, it's tucked in there. Again, that's the other side of one of those grungy coffee dyed I did. Just a little accent piece, that's all the page needs, just to bring it to life. So more journaling space, more journaling space. One of my favourite rubber stamps, and you've seen me use this umpteen times. I couldn't tell you who it's by. I'll have a quick look and see if I can find it. So it's a mounted stamp. Has it got a name on it? Oh wait, it does have a name. Oh, that's all it says. I'm just going to focus on it. There's no brand on it or anything, but it's absolutely one of my favourite stamps. I use it so often. I have to be careful I don't use it too often, to be honest. And it watercolours beautifully. And if you stamp this and you use embossing powders, say in black on it, then when you paint it's even easier and it's got a sort of sheen to it. Love that. A little bit more of Gail's papers, a little bit more of me just stenciling on there. This was actually a cover page from a book, and it came in different colours, and it's got this beautiful textural fern stamped on it. I think I've ended up with about 6 pages of this. Trying to give me 1 second. No, I thought I had the books to hand, but I don't. It was like a gardening book or a wildflower book, and it's got these inside, and all I did is I just rubbed some black ink over the top just to bring them out, because I really love, and it's a very tactile page. I like, that's just a very tactile page. Over here, this was just a bit of an old book that I found. It was October. I thought, you know, that's in keeping. A little bit of book page down there. More journaling space. This is another napkin. I've stamped Tim Holtz across it. This is another one of the labels that I make out of scrapbook pages. Bit of scrap there. A little bit of lace, because I thought, you know, it kind of fitted nicely in there. It was just the perfect. I like that. A little more down there. Now you could still write on this, you could write over the top of that, not a problem. There's more of that stenciling from that tree stencil. I quite like that. It's a background and it's meant to be in the background. You could still write over that, but if you've got your own bits of ephemera to stick on that, that would be lovely. Another one of my postcards just was in keeping. It's a mixture of stuff. I want to say that and that might be Tracy. The rest is just generic stuff that I obviously used and washes. Bit of a corner there. I've made these in mass makes as well, and I'll probably be making them in more. Doing things like this and this are very much how I scrap bust. I make stuff, then I put them into a stash, and then maybe when I'm doing a journal, I'll add an element. Like I think I added that label once I put this in place because it needed something, but I leave spaces on there so I can tie them into the journal I'm working on. Oh, found this lady. Does this girl look miserable or what? Seriously, she's not happy. Maybe she's waiting for the bus and it's not turned up. I don't know. But that was another nameplate from an old book. I don't know. She just struck me as not being a happy person. I thought you can go in there. Down the side of here, I just slipped in a bit of that paper that I made, put a bit of a Tracy label at the top just to give a border to the page. I was tempted to make it a tuck spot, but I thought, no, I don't want to. It's just adornment on a page. So this page here, okay, this one I went to town a little bit with, really. That's another one of my old book page edges that I made. I made into a strip and stuck it down. A little bit of a skull. I made a little bit of a tablet here, just so that there's notebook page in there. And then this was a bit of paper that I made, so I'll show you the whole thing in a minute, because you're all going, oh, don't put it back, I want to see it. I'll let you see it, don't worry. Don't panic, Mr. Mannering, you'll be fine. Right, and for those of you of a certain era, you know what that reference is about. So, okay, so what I did is I set out, not that side, obviously, that's the back of it, although that in itself is quite pretty. And I made myself another one of these master sheets. And this is literally, what is this? This is Brushos, I think. They're like a powdered pigment that I sprayed. Then I went in with some spray inks. Then I stamped, put elements in. Then I put more on. Then I basically went to town. and then I put some splatters on there as well. And then this is what I use to actually use as spare pages within here. Now I could have, if I wanted, used it that way for the signature. So, but as I said, I like making these sort of things. I keep them in a folder, and then what I do is whenever I'm looking for something unusual or unique, I then photocolor copy it, and that's done. Now, to be honest with you, I could have photocopied that on the one side and then photocopied that on the other, and how good would that have looked for a signature? So I'll probably be doing more of these sort of things as videos in the future as I get themes for different journals I need to make, because I've got a nautical one coming up, so I need to do a nautical version of one of those. So that's that page. We're almost done here. I found him, and he looked like either a doctor or an undertaker to me, so that went through this theme. Had that big moth hanging around for ages. Well, I've got somewhere to use it at last. That's another one of those little card stamps that I've done. Basically, it's just a napkin. I put it over some book page, and I've just cut around it with a postal stamp edge. You could use a pinking scissors for that as well. Then we come to the very back page, just a little bit of cardstock that I coloured up myself, a label. I wasn't going to give her wings. I was actually going to give her bat wings, but I thought we've already got one bat in here. And this was actually a really small tag that I turned then into a corner piece. So the tuck spot is the tag, and I put a bar across the bottom, so I've got an L-shaped tag at the bottom, which means I can put pieces in. So this was a third of those large washer ones, obviously a bit of a sticker on the background. Just a generic tag. This was actually just a piece of jelly printing that I did to make some tags, but it was in the perfect theme. And again, one of my tag backgrounds, and I just put some ephemera on there to tie it into that. And that brings me nicely to the end of the book. And that's, what is that? That's not napkin, what is that? That's a picture out of something, I'm not sure. That might even be out of Edith Holden. Bit of a label, bit of stenciling, stamp. There's one more of the skulls, and that was the cardstock I used to actually enforce the inside. So that was my autumn journal. So I'm just going to tie it back up again. I was tempted to actually attach the tie, but I like the fact that I can take the tie on and off as and when I need it, because knowing me, I would catch the tie in something and end up ripping. So I don't want to do that. So let's tuck that over and tie that off. So there you go, guys. I don't normally share my journals, but that's the autumn one for you. I hope you like it. As I said, in 2022, I'm going to be doing a series on a playlist of making a journal a month, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to aim it at the beginner so that I can introduce you to different ways to make covers for 12 months of the year, and then each cover will actually get turned into a journal as well, which means it'll be a naked journal, or it'll just be plain pages in it, and then we can go back from time to time and revisit those and make ephemera. So it gives me a vehicle to actually create for. So hopefully you like that. Something slightly different from me. I had lots of requests to show that, so if you don't like it, don't blame me. Blame my followers, because they wanted it. I wasn't sure about it. So if you do need to see more about me, this is my contact details where you can find me, follow me, like me, subscribe me, share to me. I'd love you to see you along on the journey with me. And it just leaves me to say goodbye. So I'm Ceri the Crafter, that's Ceri the Crafter, signing off. Goodbye now.